Well, sadly, I've been pretty behind with life. So, of course, when life puts you behind, you just got to get ahead. What's good, y'all? Brytaypodcast back at it again. Didn't realize until I looked at the topics that I had a lot of information to share. So, it'll be a little different. I've been telling a few of y'all the plans. I'm learning to finally record the podcast, have it prepared, have it up and running, have it ready to go. So, I'll go ahead and let you know now. It's being done today on Sunday. Oddly enough, I was supposed to do it on Thursday. Well, actually Wednesday, but I've literally just had life running and ripping and roaring. I know a lot of y'all don't need the specs and the details, but I just wanted to at least let everyone know that I have been planning and grinding. I will say this because I might as well get it out the way now. I had a story that I wanted to share, but I forgot that I left the story out because it wasn't confirmed what would or wouldn't happen based on the outcome. But it's relevant to share with the podcast anyway, and that is that Colin Kaepernick is starting today. I won't give a lot of information behind it, and the only reason I'm not going to, and I'll be fair to be unfair. The story is going to get attention from me because it's promises, and as I told my listeners, if I brought his name up on my podcast, it's solely going to be because of him playing football. Well, here we are. He's going to be starting. I likely will give stats and information about his gameplay. If his game is on TV, I will do my best to get some information and feedback from what I see. Hopefully he has a good output or a good performance, so we'll see how that goes. But I have more random and unique stories to share because, like anything in life, you'd be surprised at how a story starts one way and then ends another way, and you look and you realize, well, we're here at this point, so we might as well talk about it. So I'm bringing this one in first because it's a unique story, but it's also intriguing because it's the confirmation of history repeating itself. And maybe I'm gonna make sure I have this accurate. We're gonna go back to 2012. Kobe played in the All-Star game, and he had a incident occur where he caught a foul from Dwayne Wade. Now I'm kind of gonna get this as a two-part story because looking at how it's all explained, it's almost like it returned, but it's an odd return almost. Because back in, and I guess media sometimes gets it right, but they get it wrong, and you don't realize they got it right or wrong until you look and just kind of say, wow, this is all the way weird. So back on May 9th of 2012, Kobe Bryant they auctioned off the mask that was a game-worn mask during the matchup. Mask ended up being sold for $67,100. Bid started off at $250, ended up getting 129 bids. Intriguing part about it was the mask was autographed and was signed. I'm sharing this story, and I'm guessing this is one of those you have to be sketchy to know how to share information. But anyway, he wore the mask for 11 games, and it was worn due to the contact that was involved in the All-Star game with Dwayne Wade. And let's see. All right, I have that. It's weird. It's almost as though, okay, so throughout his career, been lucky in hands-on game using. For those who are unfortunate, there's a golden opportunity to hand it out with the cost you. So I guess the nicest way to put it, all right, here we go. Brain back, I'm awake, I'm alive. What happened was the mask was initially sold at that moment when it occurred, and it was put out there. So someone resold the mask recently, and they started it off at, it could possibly be sold for up to $50,000. Internet warriors, social media outlets, y'all got to think this one out a little better, because this is an intriguing one, because it was almost as though it was sold before ESPN had that story back when ESPN was good on sources, but Bleacher Report got a hold of it, and surprisingly, which is unique, they didn't get any information or pull from this story when it occurred. But the auction should be ending on October 29th. And this one is weird because they're saying it was war for 4 games, but in the other story it was war for 11 games. So I'm going to see what happens out of this and just kind of let it be what it is. I'm sharing this story for a reason because if you go back and look at if you listen to a few podcasts back, he did a similar situation where he sold, well, not he sold, but they decided to take the floor that he played on, and I think it was the number 8, if I recall. His last game at the Staples Center, which was the last game of his career, they had the number 8 and the number 24 on the floor, and if I recall correctly, it was the number 8. And they took that portion of the floor. He signed it, and they had it pulled from the floor, and was sold on the market for nearly $180,000. So it's almost that whole sports memorabilia. But I wanted to bring that topic up because it's such an interesting thing, because you never know or never understand why someone does or doesn't do something until it happens, and you're like, well, that's an odd sale, but hey, as the saying goes, business is business. So my question, I guess my question, my thought for everyone is, what's a piece of memorabilia for any sport that you would pay for, and how much are you willing to pay for it? Or do you really feel like the sports enthusiasts who go to that extreme are just doing too much? Leave some feedback or some discussion on that, because I would love to hear or see a few people's thoughts about that. Next topic, I'm gonna get intriguing out of my vocabulary today. We're gonna work it out. Next topic, a little random, a little different, but it looks as though Tiger Woods is withdrawing from the 2006 Safeway Open, and I'm giving this attention only because I haven't done, as many of you who've listened know, I don't do golf topics too often, but it's an interesting scenario because, Tiger Woods has been the face of golf for well over a decade, if not longer, and to now practically see or realize that his career is just to that point where it's, might be time to hang it up. Might be time to put the hat back on the shelf and just call it a career. But he's trying. Now keep in mind, Tiger Woods is 40 years old. So it's not like he can't continue golfing, because he can always do the senior PGA if he wanted to. But it's not been his best outing with golf lately, because we haven't seen him really play since 2015. He played in the Wyndham Championship back in August of last year. And then, even worse, what's affected him is he's had numerous back surgeries, and he's been having problems with that for a while. So that's kind of been what's caught up to him lately. I'm hoping that the output or his performance, if he does get back into playing, that he can be back up to a subpar performer. But we'll just have to, as with any sport, as with any of my stories, keep an eye on that and see how it goes. The next story is my favorite, and it's only because I told someone I want to do this, and I may have to find a venue or find a way of getting it to occur. But I would like to get a group of football fans, period. But if I really, to be petty and to be real, I would like to get true hardcore Dallas fans and hardcore Washington fans to be loyal and be honest and looking at the truth about a few things. And here's what I mean in saying that. So Dallas has made it clear that as of right now, Dak Prescott is the guy because Romo is out. However, They are insisting that Tony Romo will be the starter no matter how well Prescott is playing. Now, I want to say this, and I'm going to say it because I can. Jerry Jones is not going to ever get it right with certain quarterbacks or with certain scenarios. He's not even the coach, number one. And number two, I'm going to say it and I'm going to dabble into it because I feel like it's just how Jerry's world has been for decades. If Jerry Jones doesn't have to, he's not going to start a black quarterback or not have a black quarterback start for a season if possible. They will have Tony Romo out there broken, beat up, and booed at with no parts remaining to be added to, and they'll still find a way to have him play. And for the life of me, I will never understand that. This year is the true confirmation that Dak Prescott is a pretty solid force at his position and doing a pretty good job leading the team to 4-1. He's even said himself, if Romo were to come back, he would go ahead and sit out and let him run, be the starting quarterback. Prescott's being passive aggressive solely because he's the bench player, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay. I mean, well, not the bench player, but he's the rookie, and I'm okay with that. But also, if it's your time to shine, you got to get out there and let the lights lead you where they need to go. And that's truly where I'm at and how I feel when it comes to how Prescott has looked. Dak Prescott's been playing good. Ezekiel Elliott has been playing exceptional, and it's just been a different flow of the offense. But it's almost as though Jones doesn't want Prescott to be the guy when it's like, if he's winning, why wouldn't you stick to what's working? As determined as the saying goes, don't bring somebody to the prom and then all of a sudden, oh, I don't like this date, I'm going to go to my date that I really wanted to date all along. When it's like, but you brought a date that's actually not a bad date. So why not stick to the date you have and enjoy the time with that person? So I truly have a feeling that Tony Romo is going to end up starting when he comes back. Just hope he can carry the team to a good place. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's supposed to. The initial script was that he'll be out about 8 weeks, and they've been kind of in limbo about giving the story. He'll be ready. The Cowboys expect he'll be ready to return to the starting lineup in week 8 after the team's week 7 bye. So that basically means this week they're in. He's going to play. Next week is the bye week, and then the week after we'll see Romo playing. So look forward to that whole scenario. Now my random 2% story with basketball. So it looks like there was a study done for an NBA team, and this study confirmed that despite how okay but not great their record was, morale was built with the team based on something as small as just giving each other high fives and daps and confidence in each other. So the Phoenix Suns have had a stat tracked with them known as being the team to give each other more high fives and fist bumps than any other team. The thing that makes this a random and out the way story is the mere fact that they actually had a professor from UCal, Berkeley, study teams to see how that worked as far as how much contact and how interactive players were with other players. And it's general with sports as a whole. You have some players that will play, like Tom Brady was out for some games, or he would be on the bench, supporting the team. And there, he'll stand there, he, got his hand out ready to get high fives, and they looking like, okay, we know this your team. I won't give him a high five, which is bad, but it's the constant of football. I've seen it. But with this story, it's just I'm giving it the attention because it's a random stat, but it's something that can be a morale based scenario. Like I've played, and I mean, a lot of people mostly know this in general. I played a pretty good amount of game basketball coming up as a kid, and there was a point where I had a team of guys and girls that I played with that we won quite a few games, and we had that chemistry. Every time somebody scored, you give them 5 because I mean you did your part. Give them 5, give them a dap, give them something. In basketball, it's a dap. In football, it's usually high fives or pat on the butt, whatever. People get all into that whole ordeal. Oh, don't do that. That's so inappropriate, whatever. But I thought it was just a odd yet, heavy. Weighted stat that they would observe or look at how often teams give each other high fives. Now, granted, last season their record was 23-59, but it also was a tough place because their coach Earl Watson was put into place like mid-season, so it was almost like he had to try to fix what was unfixable. And some teams in the NBA are gonna go through fix struggles for a while, and Phoenix is one of those teams. Even though they have a bright future because they have a good one of their shooting guards, Devin Booker, and it's not just because he went to Kentucky, but as a whole, he's a pretty good player. I'm looking forward to see how he plays this year. The sophomore year is always the year that you can see where or how a player will look when they get on the floor. Next topic is King James being King James, or he now. I'm gonna be one to throw it out there. He has that option if he wants to be acknowledged or be viewed as King James, solely because he's finally did what he was supposed to be doing when he first came in the league, and that's get a championship back in LA. I mean, in Cleveland. The first championship they won in years. He gave his thoughts or his output about the possible collective bargaining agreement in the NBA. Him and Chris Paul are pretty good friends, and Chris Paul, for those who don't know, is the NBA National Basketball Players Association president. I'm gonna read the excerpt, and I usually don't do readings, but I'll go ahead and give source and give fairness. LeBron is the vice president. Oddly enough, let me make sure I give information and not leave information. But LeBron is the vice president of the National Basketball Players Association, and he pointed out to Jim Krasinski and Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press. He made this statement. We got a group of guys that are in there that know the negotiations, so any way to give back and try to help our former teammates and help former players and things of that nature. Because we've all built this league together, no matter how big of a guy you were or if you were the 15th guy on the bench, we all built this league into what it is today. But it's not just my idea. I'm not taking credit for that, but it's all part of the process. Now, what's being brought up and what's being addressed with him is the NBA wants to get right what the NFL tried to get right but still has gotten wrong. And that is, and if you really look at it, LeBron and Chris Paul are kind of in that stage, that status of they're nearing the end of their career. They're going to be retired. They want to make sure that if any impact has occurred or been given to you as a player, that you have some type of treatment, care, don't have to go through a whole lot of process and chaos when that time comes that you retire. Because the treatment of the NFL was just rough. It was like they got a lawsuit, they got it right. They put a little bit of a patent on it to kind of do wound care and say, hey, we worked on it, we got it straight, so this should be able to hold over for a while and y'all should be fine. Okay, yeah, we're fine, but it's not permanent. It just was something to kind of ease the pain away. But he's just looking at having a deal that will feature every form of help for the retired players in the NBA or those who are on the verge of retiring. Because, you got a lot of guys, like, you think about it. LeBron is going into his 14th year. So, I mean, you want to have those things in place. The good thing though, which I think is good to share with the collective bargaining agreement, is the negotiations are going a lot better this time around than they did a few years ago. Because back in 2011, for whatever reason, whenever they have a struggle with collective bargaining agreements in the NBA, it always becomes a challenge, because I believe it ends at the end of this season. They have to have something in place. So if they don't have anything in place, then they'll go through what they went through before, which last time the season was reduced to 66 games. And of course, shortened seasons work for the Spurs because they won that championship that year. And if you go back a while back when they played 50 games, that was when the Spurs, I believe, won the first title. Don't hold me to that. But that story I wanted to just share because it's going to be something that is important, and I feel like if as basketball progresses, as the basketball season progresses, I'll be doing my best to implement more stories involving the status of the collective bargaining agreement. If it's finished, still being worked on, finalized, mark the deal, may not have a deal, whatever the case may be. Next topic, odd topic, but relevant due to how it's handled. So, Bobby Brown, no relation to Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown, who plays for the Houston Rockets, did something that was not a good idea. And I didn't know how serious this was until I read the story and saw it, and I was like, I need to find this story, I need to tab it, I need to talk about it, need to make it a big thing and go ahead and share it. But supposedly, one thing that you do not do to the Great Wall of China is carve any information such as your name. What he decided to do was graffiti the Great Wall of China by putting his name and his jersey number. The Houston Rockets were playing in I think you consider it, I guess it's considered to be somewhat of a home and home game, but it's not. They played against the New Orleans Pelicans. Wait, I'm sorry. My bad. I feel bad. I feel like did they turn back into the Hornets? I forgot. But the New Orleans team. But they had a game, and during the journey, he posted a picture of him, of his graffiti, and said, "Had a blast at the Great Wall of China today." And some of the citizens did not like it. One user or one person commented, "Are you proud of your carving? This is part of World Heritage, not the toilet of your home." I'm gonna bleed out for a second, so I can just kind of just let that one happen, because that there's no recovery or returning from that. That was just throat slit. Accept it, let it be what it is, and keep it moving. So he responded and realized the importance of how serious it was. He used erasable chalk. This was a lesson learned. His response, I'm going to read it, try not to be long-winded about it. We were out enjoying the Great Wall. I'd never been. It was my first time. I wrote my name on the wall in chalk. I saw different writings. Didn't mean any harm by it. I made a mistake. Could have just put my hand over it and erased it. It will never happen again. I've been playing in China for 3 years now, and I have the utmost respect for the Chinese culture and the way of living here. I pretty much adapted coming from the States here for 3 years. My teammates, the fans in Shenzhen, and the fans all over were great to me, and I just want to sincerely apologize for that. Which means he didn't know what he did, and he acknowledged it, and he made sure he got it right. I have no problem with that. But I thought it was a funny story because it was like it caused so much tension, because folks, that's just one person who said that. You don't know, other people probably really got upset, and you think it's in their language. So when you're reading, you're like, oh, what did they say? Oh, they don't like it. They're not feeling it. So the analogy about the toilet was just like, I can't. There's no way. So, wanted to get that story in the mix. The next story is involving my soccer team, the Chelsea Blues. I should know what their mascot is, but I don't believe it's one involved, and I'm not going to be a fool and even trying. But Chelsea is letting Adidas go. So it already was going to be, it's already been a big sign with them already letting Samsung move on and going to Yamaha, which, Yokohama tires, which is completely different from Yamaha keyboards. But they're now leaving Adidas, and they're going to, starting next season, they're going to be going to Nike. And it's going to be the largest deal in the team's history. No money or no numeric values have been stated currently, but it's a possibility that it could be a 900 million euro Nike kit deal. So I wanted to share that, and just bringing up how a lot of teams, you see it in soccer a lot. Anyone who watches and keeps up with soccer will tell you, if it's anything that you don't learn or don't realize, is that a team will have a brand, or like it'll be the brand that's on their kit, or it could be the shoe deal. They will stay with that brand for a while, and then they rebrand and say, hey, we're no longer doing Adidas, we're going to Nike. We're no longer doing Nike, we're going to Reebok. All of those things come into play. So, this is a big story, and I wanted to go ahead and share that. Not just because it was Chelsea, I'm not being biased. It was just, anytime you hear about deals involving like major shoe companies and having their brand be the new face of that team or of that sport, it's huge. First example I always think of is with the NFL. NFL is really clear in making it known you can wear whatever shoe you want to wear, but our jerseys, our pants, I almost was about to be stupid and say the helmets, but I don't think Nike makes helmets. I don't know. I wanted to say it's the helmets of Riddell if they've had that contract for years. But as far as the shoes, not shoes, but pants, shirts are Nike. Their jerseys are going to be Nike. Now, if you do your whole Under Armour bit, like Cam is Under Armour, so shoe wise, he does his Under Armour setup. So that was that story about Chelsea's adjustments. And this story just hit actually today. So I went ahead and put it in as a wild card. So I wanted to go ahead and share it since I got the information for it, that it's likely going to occur. And that is that Michael Carter-Williams, who was Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago, he was with Philadelphia at that time. The following season got traded to Milwaukee. Had 2 solid years in Milwaukee. He's now being traded again. He's now going to be playing for the Chicago Bulls. And he likely will be giving Rondo some rest, here and there. They may run a two-man, 2-guard backcourt. We'll see. You never know. But he's being traded to the Bulls for Tony Snell. Tony Snell has been okay with the Bulls. Career-wise, he's averaging 5.3 points with them. They both, coincidentally enough, both Snell and Carter-Williams came out in the same draft in 2013. And this is actually going to be Carter-Williams' 4th team. I must have missed the team because I know Milwaukee, I know Philadelphia, and I know Chicago. Don't know who the 4th one is. So that was a odd and special story to share. I wanted to go ahead and get that out there. It's in principle, or it's a proposed trade. It's likely going to be inked and finalized on Monday. So that'll be once they, have clear physicals, paperwork, yada yada, blah blah, white tape, red noise. That'll all be set. And I wanted to share one story before I forget with Houston, because I didn't tag it, but I'll go ahead and put it anyway. They made a big story because one of the players for Houston. I don't have his name right offhand, but he shot free throws underhand. And, we haven't seen an underhand free throw in years. Last underhand free throw shooter we had was the more known name was Rick Barry. Brent Barry and Rick Barry's father, who used to play for Golden State. He was known for doing the underhand. So I had that story I wanted to share. Now my two things that I epitomize the least and cannot stand with a passion, but I do it because I do it. And that is fantasy. First I'll do fantasy fails. This week I have a pretty unique matchup. I actually picked up a quarterback. I picked up an extra quarterback. I got Alex Smith. I'm starting him. Sorry, like I literally just scared myself and it threw me off. But I have Alex Smith starting. I have LaShawn McCoy who's been playing pretty good. I believe, I set him on the bench because D'Angelo Williams played like pure crap for me last week. Oddly enough, the person who I'm playing didn't have anybody start on Thursday. And I didn't have anybody start on Thursday, so we're kind of going into Sunday with a blind schedule. Both of us have everyone kind of starting. There aren't too many bye players that are going to be left for a while, so that was a good thing. I always never know how my seasons go when it comes to fantasy league, and I confirm it and I say it all the time. But I wanted to at least give y'all the weekly fail fantasy. I'm still working to get some tight ends. I made a trade with someone for a tight end. See if that goes through. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, then it is what it is. They may block it because they're probably gonna be like, "Why are you trading me this for this?" And it doesn't make sense. What do I need another quarterback for? You don't know who I have on my team. I looked, but I just needed a tight end, and he had a good tight end that I think would work for my team. And now my personal section that I always have a problem doing, but I think now I can do it and it's not a big deal. And that is my picks for the week. Last week I was 4. Last week I was 4 and something. The other week I had a rough week. This week I went 11-3. This past week I was 11-3. I had picked some pretty good games. Oddly enough, I got the Carolina game right, which I didn't want to get right, but I did because I just know. So this week's queue of games, and I'm going to write them. So if you hear the pen, just let the pen happen. Just don't ask questions because it's me being me. But anywho, yay, sneeze random. Knew it was coming. Anyway, I will go ahead and let you know now. Obviously, you're probably already going to say you don't need to state what we already know, but I'm doing the obvious so that way we can get out of the way. The Thursday game I couldn't have picked, and I wouldn't have been able to pick because I didn't have anything set up for Thursday. So if I were to pick it, looking at it now, I would have picked the Broncos anyway. So I would have lost that game, but luckily I didn't pick anybody, so it doesn't matter. Now, moving forward, we're going to go ahead and start on our picks. 49ers against the Bills. Welcome back, Cap. But no, sorry. Bills will get that one for me. Eagles and Redskins. Oddly enough, unique matchup. I think based on how they've been looking, and this is, of course, division battle, so I'll go ahead and go Eagles. Browns, Titans. Really? Browns are 0-5. We're going to say Titans. And Ravens, Giants. Should be a good matchup. Wild pick for me, Giants. This week I'm not gonna go against the grain because I have more faith this time due to records and just how everything's been going. Panthers and Saints, keep pounding, go Panthers. Jaguars and Bears both have horrible records, so can't really go wrong either way. Going Bears. Rams and the Lions should be a good matchup. Going to Rams. Their rookie quarterback's been playing pretty good. You just haven't heard much about it because it's the Rams. Steelers and Dolphins. Wow. Sorry, Mom. I'm going Steelers. I know my sister will be like on that, loving it. Bengals Patriots should be a pretty good game. I'm going to pick the Pats because didn't hear too much injury wise going on with them. Chiefs and the Raiders. Chris Berman, don't hurt me. And I have him on my fantasy, but I have to be cordial in my pick. So I'm gonna go Raiders. Falcons Seahawks might be the game of the week. I'm actually gonna surprise everyone and go Seahawks. Getting into the later games. Well, we're in the later games now. Sorry. Cowboys Packers. Packers only because it's in Lambeau. Colts Texans, going Colts. Late game Cardinals Jets, really. Cardinals should have that with no problem. And I'm sorry, wait, my bad. Okay, so I'm sorry. The Colts Texans are the late game tonight. So I'm going Colts with that game and Monday Night Football game, unless the Jets do something miraculously random. I'm going to go ahead and go Cardinals. So those are my picks. Those are my topics. Thank you all for listening. If you're checking out the podcast on Spreaker, I do appreciate it. If you go and listen, if you're listening to it through iTunes, thank you as well. Everyone continue to do everything that you're doing. And until next time, this is BT signing out, making sure the mic works. Peace.